Snowy Wasatch Mountains. The venue for the 2002 Winter Olympic Games was this track at Park City, Utah, and we are back for double four-man weekend action. Hello everybody, Martin Haven and John Morgan for the last slide of this weekend here. This is round 6 of the four-man BMW World Cup. And after racing yesterday in windy conditions, wet snow falling for the four-man race today, John.
Yeah, the track that opened in March of 1997, built for the 2002 Games, really has provided the Americans with a great training ground. Look at this track record at the start. Martin Annan at the 2002 Olympics. He finished 4th right behind Brian Scheimer, though. Up here, curve 1, curve 2. You have to be so quiet. You're steering, no mistakes. Both American sleds made mistakes at a curve 1 last night. Now into this first sunny curve. Big sweeping left. Couple little quick turns. And now another big sweeping right. Snowy. I let the sled accelerate here. Elaborate 2-corner combination. And then bingo, 3-corner combination. And then now into this Albert's Alley straightaway, named after Prince Albert. The Wasatch after the mountains here in Park City. And now the Olympic curve. Curve 12-13. A lot of problems down here. Could be again tonight. Olympic curve, they're still going downhill. Then an abrupt change of direction. You go uphill, and if you hit like that, you're going to throw away your time. We call that the graveyard section. Here on the Park City track, look at this record. The pre-Olympic test in 2001. Boy, I don't think we're going to see any records in either tonight.
No, I don't think we will. That was shot in training when it was cold, crisp and clear. And then we're that dry cold today. This is wet, sticky snow. Max Arndt of Germany is our World Cup points leader from teammate Francesco Frugic and Rico Peter. But Alexander Kasyanov in 4th place, courtesy of winning yesterday for the first time in his World Cup career. Well, they're 4, 5, 6 deep in the start area, but you can see from the crowd just how hard it is snowing. Also, what's missing today that really badly affected yesterday's race is the wind. The snow's coming straight down. Yesterday, it was coming straight at them in the start area. And Stephen Holcomb there plummeted like a stone, 19th out of 20 in the second heat.
On his home track.
Yeah, he didn't somehow forget how to drive. 2200 slower at the start. It was a horrible wind-affected race.
And he needed that to get in the top 10, which he didn't do yesterday. 5th in the first run, 19th, 16th overall last night.
Yeah, he needs a good day today. There is Nico Walter, closest to us in the blue hat. That's René Spies, one of the German coaches. Francesco Frugic, our double two-man world champion, sprinting in the snow as the officials run a light grade of grit paper over the runners to make sure that nothing slippery has been added to them. So our start list, we have 21 sleds going into the first heat. Alexander Kasyanov, the most recent winner in Man Bobsleigh, heads off ahead of Rico Peter and Simone Bertazzo. Start draw outside the top 10 then for the US sleds. Nick Cunningham in 9th place, but Stephen Holcomb, who is now down in the 16th start position, 15th start position ahead of teammate Cody Basque, reflecting their World Cup ranking.
Well, they've just had 3 sleds come down as pilot sleds. And hopefully the winner last night goes first. I don't know for Kasyanov if this is a good draw. We're going to find out real quick. They had great starts last night.
Well, Kasyanov and his crew, first ever World Cup win. How ramped up are they today, do you think?
490 in the first run last night. Let's see what the start track's going to give us tonight. 503, 1,300 slower start in the first run than last night.
Yeah.
So we have a slower field to work with tonight.
Well, definitely a bit more snow on the track. It's been snowing all day today. It really came in yesterday afternoon before the race.
The rabbit, whether or not this rabbit's pushing the snowplow or not, we're going to find out. The second, but the 3rd sled down, we could see some variances in time. Last night, the Germans that went 1-2, Friedrich and Walter, they ended up at 9th, 10th place, and that was late, and he's late here.
Oh, big skid. He's really trying to let the sled fly loose, not trying to over-control it on this short 39-meter track.
Let's see Pierre Luders's reaction off that. Wow, this is the guy that won the race last night on this very easy Park City bobsled track, and he either fell asleep or maybe he had some vision problems.
Well, just trying to let it slide. No, the visor is clear now. Shauna Roebuck just came back, Olympic medalist on this track. And Olympic medalist, she lives here, works here, and she said...
Watch his taps on the take-on going into 12. Look at this, he's late.
Yeah.
Oh, this four-man was just almost over. And I'm sure some of the people up top saw that. And look at him climb into there. Wow, 48:39 last night. His time much different.
Yeah, first heat was 47.9, so it's a second slower, and probably almost all of that is track.
Yeah,
well, let's see. What about Rico Pater? The Swiss has been a consistent performer this season. He's third in the World Cup standings. First of two Swiss sleds for the first time in a very long while in World Cup racing.
Well, Rico was bronze medal last night. Awesome performance. 492 in the first run last night. 496, much better than the Russians. Now, is that snowplow related?
Nice, neat load. You can see that the runners are leaving shiny trails down the track. That's as they wear through the snow. 0.15 of a second advantage. This could be 4/10 at the bottom over Kasinov.
Yeah, and a lot of it related to the start. Let's see if he gets through the chicane here. Pretty nice.
Kasinov was only 119 kilometers. That's 125.8. That's a huge difference.
Down to 9, and he's smooth through here. A little bit of skid on the take-on, but let's see how much. He should be ahead by 1,500s if that Kasinov's mistake. There it is. So he accelerated. He got 6/800ths on the bottom.
Yep.
48:23.
48:32 for Rico Pater, and his first run yesterday was a 48 flat. So 3/10 slower.
That's not. It's better than what the Russians did.
Yeah, closer to what he did yesterday in the first heat. But again, you can see the snow just coming down. Yesterday it was swirling all over the place.
A little on the wrong side of that wall. Watch him hit the line. Oh, he's really high there. We'll see that. Now watch this. Much better than the Russians, but still, he still had a crossover skid.
Yeah. Climbing in the Olympic curve, little height there as well. Mind you, that stage you're doing 75, close on 80 miles an hour.
Yeah, closer to 80.
Simone Bertazzo of Italy started third in yesterday's draw, starts third in today's draw as well. The Italian had a good run, didn't he? In the first heat, he's being held while they sweep the grooves. If they don't sweep the grooves, the weight of the sled will just pack snow into them until after a dozen sleds, there will be no groove left to keep the sled running straight while the athletes push it.
5:04 for this Italian team in the first run yesterday. The cohesion of a four-man bobsled. We call it choreography on ice.
5:08, that's not a bad getaway in these conditions.
Again, the Russians started 5:03 compared to 4:90 the day before, so they lost 13. The other two teams have only lost 4. Snowplow, I'd say that was.
Well, Bertazzo's definitely turning himself into a really strong four-man contender this season.
He had a start time. He's got the eyes, the hands.
Well, don't forget, he's only 400 slower than Kasinov, who won yesterday.
1800s to 1800s, holding his own. He had a really good first run yesterday, losing some time here, but a smooth.
Maybe a little too smooth, a little too controlled. 138.1? What? You're kidding me! Huge speed at the bottom.
And he's only 18 at the bottom. He went 18 to 21. He had the smoothest line through 11, 12, and into 13, 14 than anybody, and he got rewarded with 300ths into the finish.
Whereas he should have lost maybe an extra 10th. He pulled back time. That was a really great run through the last few corners.
Yeah, he got beat by a lot at the start. And how's this big bus coming down this straightaway? A little bit of a skid. And into the finish, entering the graveyard. Look at the heads, the aerodynamic profile at 85 miles an hour.
Perfect.
He's
great line off 14, downhill, and then uphill into 15.
Simone Bertazzo.
So next up is Germany's Nico Walter, 25-year-old from Freital, close to the Altenburg track. And he and his teammate Francesco Friedrich battling with Max Arndt to be the #1 four-man driver in Germany. He's yet to win, Walter.
Fell back in World Cup points to 5th with his 11th place finish last night, but he went 2nd.
Marco Hubenbecker back on the sled. He's at 2 rather than on the brakes, so he's going to load right behind the driver. Watch the way that 6'7" Hubie has to bend over the driver. There you go, so the others can get in behind him.
Wow,
491.
5 flat last night, 491 tonight.
Hubie always brings speed, doesn't he?
11th place last night. I think it had a lot to do with, first of all, they went 2nd, and then they were in that vortex where all the wind was in the 2nd run, including Hulk. So this German, I think, has got a little vengeance in mind here, and he's going to take it out on the track right now with a 1600s lead and decent lines.
Now the other thing is he's now 2 runs more knowledgeable about this Park City track, so he's added more information. 1500 top on leader Rico Peter. Great exit.
Boy, the aerodynamic profile of these 3 guys behind him, especially the 6'7" guy, they're perfect. Christoph, he likes it.
Really nice run. Good speed all the way down the track. That is going to be...
Listen,
yeah, look at Hubie.
6'7", rides #2. He's also probably one of the biggest clowns on tour.
He is the touchstone for this crew, isn't he? He is the glue. Nico Walter and Marco Hubenbecker are an awesome pairing.
Oh, this is an impressive start. The Russians went 1,300, 1,500 slower. The Germans, this team went 900s faster. And you know, again, the Russian went first. I say it was a snowplow. Look at the skid here before the first big left sunny. Look at the heads bouncing around. That's the G-force. Much better for Nico Walter. He's in the mix.
Yes, he is. Francesco Friedrich went first yesterday. I think he might agree with your assessment of the snowplow. What about this man? Justin Cripps of Canada. Now, he benefited from a lull in the weather yesterday to roar up the order and just miss out on the medals, but a season PB for Team Cripps.
No, he got 3rd.
He got 3rd, I beg your pardon.
Big class.
Alexander Kopacz, Derek Plug, and Ben Coakwell again. Same lineup behind him. They had big starts yesterday.
Big starts last week when they won the medal, too.
Yeah.
491, so they should go 492, 493. Don't make a mistake.
Trouble getting in for Plug and Coakwell. Starts 491, still good.
And they get a little late there. That might affect them right here, but it was a pretty good entrance and exit of Sonny.
Tied with the leader, Nico Walter.
Well, he's down 10. That's really relative to them getting in late.
And the guys up in the airstream there, slowing you down.
But they were skidding into that first curve. Body movement, and that takes away a lot of momentum.
See snow lying on the straightaways here where it's not covered. It's in the bottom of the bend, so that's not a problem when you're up on those ice walls.
Ooh, he's little
skiddy.
Skiddy there out of 12 or 13.
Skiddy as well.
In the graveyard.
Really blowing up the snow behind him. He'll be 3rd place, 3,100s back. Oh, that's not yesterday's run. He'll have to do a bit of a recovery drive again today.
Well, the start was their albatross in this run.
Yeah, Derek Plug, Ben Coakwell couldn't get in well enough at 3 and 4. They were hung up in the air a little.
Let's see what happens here.
So the guy at 3 just can't quite gets his right foot hooked on the cowl or the start handle, couldn't get in.
They were still, this isn't bad. I mean, there's a lot of problems down here at 13 to 14, and he's a little airborne on the bottom run on the back end of the sled. That's what caused the skid here. Yeah. So his skid didn't happen on the exit of the curve. It happened on the entrance of the curve on the Olympic curve.
Yeah, you're wrong going in, you're going to be wrong coming out at that speed. Nico Walter, Rico Peter, Justin Cripps, your top 3, 5 down, 16 to come. Francesco Friedrich won the opening 2 races of the 4-man season for Germany. And he is our double two-man world champion. He won the first 3 races in two-man. Great start to the season. Less knowledgeable, naturally, about these North American tracks than he is about the German ones in only his 2nd World Cup season.
Well, 494, and this is a very angry German team.
Started 491 yesterday, 492 today.
And this is, you know, I said last night he's the best driver in the field, but Kasanoff is, you know, he doesn't have the resume that Arndt has, but, you know, Arndt has got somebody on his heels, and that Kasanoff the rest of the season. But Arndt, if he gets a start, I don't know. I think he's my favorite to win the World Cup title. He is leading the World Cup title now.
Yeah.
But his 1500's back here.
126.8, good speed. That is the 2nd quickest we've seen from Francesco Friedrich. Down the bottom, top speed, 138.1 from Simone Bertazzo, 137.4, 2nd fastest.
No, he just doesn't have it. So I was talking about Arndt. I was meeting Friedrich here. But he winning the first 2 World Cups of the year, we thought he was going to be unstoppable.
Yep. Well, he won 5 straight races in both disciplines before finally he was brought to a halt in the 4-man competition.
In Königssee he got 4th, in Lake Placid he got 6th, and last night he got 7th, and you know, he's got the start. That's the 2nd guy here. Now watch how quick, he bends over the top of the driver here. Look at, he's right over the top.
That's Candy Bauer, first race weekend on tour this year, coming back from injury.
And he weighs 118 pounds. Look at his runner tips.
Gert Leopold was telling us that Candy Bauer has lost something like 20 kilos of upper body mass, but got stronger and faster.
Still 118 kilos. That's 245 pounds.
Still more work to do.
Rennie Space telling him what was going on, but Francisco he's in a little bit of a slump in the 4-man bobsled.
Yeah, worst result 7th. I'll take that slump, and so will most people in the field. Next up, though, Alexei Stulnev. And again, Stulnev might be looking for a little bit of excitement here. His results, 12th in the season opener at Altenburg, then 3 7th places and 6th yesterday evening. In the green jacket on the right at the back, that is our race director, Val Fleming, Olympic medalist behind Shauna Roebuck in the women's bobsled. This is her first ever weekend of race directing here. Great load.
497, 492 last night, so everybody else has sort of been faster or the same in both Russian sleds. Oh, and he's the worst skid you could possibly be. And that's where the loose start comes out, and usually he would have hit the wall there, but with the extra space there, the nose of the sled had more place to skid.
Changed around the brakemen today. Vasily Kondratenko not on the sled, and there's a number of teams that have done that. Just subbed out one of the guys to keep them healthy for next week.
Listen to the sound of the sled. Yeah, tack, 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 something there. Doesn't seem right.
Well, that's probably the release bar for the push handles.
Not bad on the bottom.
Good run down the bottom, 4th place.
He was 2,500s down at at the Alberts Alley, only 27 at the bottom. That's good speed.
Ahead of Justin Cripps, ahead of yesterday's race winner Alexander Kasyanov, who is not pleased, I'm sure, with his opening start draw.
His teammate got #1 draw. That was a bad draw number in the snow. Watch this. Now look at the way the loose start comes out here. You can't get your sled over there. That's it.
He just missed the wall.
If he would have hit the wall, he'd been better off.
They'd have got out and walked back up. The sled would have stopped dead, pretty much. Well, there he is in the background.
Started the season with a bad crash in Altenburg. Had 6 stitches in his leg for the first 2 races. He's a pretty tough dude.
Still fairly still wind-wise at the top as Max Arndt comes to the track. Now, this is the guy who could be the biggest challenger to Nico Walter and Rico Peter for the gold medal here.
Oh, I was saying this is the best driver in the world. I got him confused with Friedrich coming down. But Friedrich, again, I was the 2 first events of the season when Friedrich won, and then Arndt was sort of sleeping. 3rd, 2nd, 1st in Lake Placid, 2nd last night.
Again, never out of the top 3. I'll take that kind of sleeping if I'm Christoph Langen. He's on the podium every race. 493 getaway for Max Arndt.
And he had a 489 last night.
Yeah, they had a stunning start yesterday.
But he started 7th last night, started 8th here. this, I think, is the optimal place to be on this track. About 4th to 9th is the best place. It's before the ice gets chewed up, and it's no more snowplow like we saw poor Stolenov from Russia have as the first man down.
Martin puts her in at 3 for Alex Rodinger, who pushed yesterday. So again, another fresh set of legs.
This is 600s to 600s means he could catch him on the bottom.
Go. Good run down the bottom will help him.
This is what he does. Oh, look at him try and control the sled. Good speed.
1:38.3, best speed we've seen.
Yeah.
Wow, 200ths of a second. That's very worthy of a Yarbowl, isn't it?
Yeah, so Max Art's doing what he did last night. He was in second at the end of the first run. I gotta believe there ain't gonna be too much change in this leaderboard.
Well, listen, we're not in Germany, but we've got 3 Germans in the top 4 plus Rico Pater. It's not just their home track advantage. These guys know what they're doing.
They're very proficient, and they can interchange the teams. That's what I'm most impressed. Look at the heads.
Yeah.
Now watch, everybody's had a rough time down here in this 12, 13, 14 era. He was perfect. He went from +6 to +2. Well, that's what you do when you're the double world champion. And watch his runner tips here. He's just trying to feather himself up that straightaway, but that's friction. But boy, that's his signature, the way those runners go back and forth in the straightaway.
Rene Spies and Max Arndt compare and contrast notes. Actually not looking overjoyed with that. Well, not overjoyed yesterday, particularly Nick Cunningham, and really disappointed his teammate Stephen Holcomb. Let's see if there's some redemption for the Americans. Casey Wickline, James Reed, Sam Mitchner, same 4-man lineup in this US sled. The Night Train, the original. Their teammates banging on the hoardings at the top, as well as lots of local fans.
489 in the first run yesterday. This team is starting to love its performance at the start. They've really started to bond. 504. Wow. As soon as I say something positive, I jinx it. That's the worst start compared to yesterday to today, other than the Russian who went off first.
Well, 8th fastest at the start. He's going to have to find a good drive to put himself in top 6 position here.
He had the 3rd best start yesterday. Now he's probably going to have the 15th best start by the time.
Slowest run so far, John.
This is
125.1, way off the pace in terms of speed.
This is where you get confused. He was +23 at the end of the first run last night. He's going to be +60 probably.
137, not bad speed, but not good enough.
Look at the coaches. What happened?
Runners.
No, the same runners as they had on last night.
Still not working then, are they?
Well, they're 1,400 slower, so that's 4,200s at the bottom. Take 4,200s out of that 5,500s, they're 13 out, and they're in challenging for 4th place.
Temperature is warmer. There weren't huge mistakes there. It wasn't a dreadful start.
Yes, it was. I think it was for them to be 1,500 slower. This is like what happened to Holcomb in the second run yesterday. Are they down quick before they are all down before the curve?
Not quite.
I don't know what happened there.
No, it wasn't the greatest load, but...
How's this?
Oh, dear.
How's this? You don't see anybody back there, hardly. I don't know.
Wasn't a bad-looking drive.
Uh-oh, here we go.
So, next up, 10th start position for Lamin Dean of Great Britain, John Baines, Joel Fearon, Andy Matthews, same team as raced last evening. And Lamin, to keep the reflexes sharp, has been playing Formula 1 racing game during the course of the afternoon to just keep himself hyped up and motivated. Daniel Ricciardo's Red Bull, his car of choice.
Well, the athlete on the right side of the sled ran too far last night, if you remember.
Yeah, second start they overran, definitely, quite a long way.
I don't know if that's Joel or John.
That was Joel Fearon, I think, overran it. John Baines there on the right-hand side as we look at it.
Second best start in the competition of the first run, 488 yesterday in the first run.
Better load, that's a good job, better load.
Yeah, but still he tapped out of first. Something now, I think there's snow accumulation, something going on. Because this guy was 488, Nick Cunningham was 489, now both of them are 504, 505.
Snow or wind, isn't it? One or the other.
Something happened. There's no way either one of these teams should be this far back, which means everybody else coming is going to have the same disadvantage. And also, Lamin Dean had big problems down at 13 on both runs last night, so let's watch for that. Coming up right here, next curve. Right here. Today's purple.
Oh, horrible mistake from Lamindine.
3 for 3.
Oh, he's going to be in the tail of the field. 10th out of 10.
Wow.
And that's a shocker.
Now we have a snow race going on. I remember I said that 3rd to 9th sled, 3rd to 8th sled is when I think the track is perfect in the snow conditions. That's what we saw last night. Well, I think the track just turned off any kind of speed.
Well, he also made mistakes, didn't he? There were definite driving errors there that you could easily see the speed getting away from him.
Well, he's only
shakes his head.
He was only 22 hundredths out of the lead last night in the first run. Now he's 70 hundredths out.
Yeah.
Look at the sled come up.
Up is not forward. Again, more technique required there.
But this is like watching last night.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Hits the wall,
yeah.
Slows the sled down, then climbs high, has to haul it off at the end.
How can he be 7/10ths back? That's what he's saying. Look at Nick Cunningham. Nick, don't feel bad. I'm 55 hundredths back.
Well, Nico Walter, Max Arndt, Rico Peter, Francesco Friedrich, maybe they got the best of the weather. Now, the question is, if it continues to snow and gets heavier, will this be a one-heat race? Nikita Zakharov of Russia, 11th of our 21 sleds. We've got 10 more after this before we can even get one heat completed. And look how they leave marks in the snow. It's really snowing.
Now, they went 499, and the other American and British sleds were way off the pace.
Well, only 0.05 of a second slower, though. What did he do last night, Nikita Zakharov? In his first start, I can't find it now. Zakharov was off early, 5 flat, so they're 100 faster.
Faster. The Americans and the British were 1,500 slower.
Yeah. Down here at the finish area where our broadcast booth is, it doesn't get windy. We're right in a hollow, nestled in the groin of the mountain, but up at the top of the start, it gets really windy. It's a lot slower now as well. The track is really starting to fill up with this wet snow. 9th place, 48.61. Well, we're now looking at drivers that are out of the top 10 standings that are not as fast as the top 2 or 3 on pretty much any track. But we're also looking to try and gauge whether this amount of snow on the running surface is having an effect.
He just came down a couple hundred slower at the start than he did last night in the first run compared to the British.
Yeah, 48.39 in the first run, so 2,300 slower.
You know, the start time.
But look at the snow in this shot. I mean, this is big, fat flakes. Yesterday, it was thin, gritty, icy. That was dry cold yesterday. Today, this is wet, fat European flakes of snow. And Nikita Zakharov, I'm afraid, like quite a number of our sleds now, running into this snowstorm is not helping. You can hear the blowers at the top, trying to blow some of the snow out, but this is a lot heavier than we saw yesterday. Absolutely. A lot heavier than the skeleton races.
Absolutely.
BMW car was just covered. So for all the teams now, it's hurry up and let's get out of here before there's another millimetre of snow on the track. Chris Spring next up.
Well, the Springer and his team had pretty good starts, 492 last night. Let's see if they can overcome the difficulty, 494. So there's 2 teams in a row that had no problems at the start compared to the British.
Change up in the crew as well. He's got Lascelles Brown in at 3, who didn't race in yesterday's 4-man.
The King.
Yeah. 42 years old and as fit as a 22-year-old, fitter than most 22-year-olds. Talking to Tom Delahunty about him, he said, you know, he's 42, he is still the single best performing brakeman in all their tests.
This isn't too bad.
Nice, good run from the Springer, and he needs a couple of those, doesn't he? 5th at the start, he's in 8th on the splits.
He's got the same issue, 13 to 14.
9th ahead of Zakharov.
I think somebody picked their head up there in the straightaway.
Could be 11th place. So ahead of Lamindine, behind Nick Cunningham. In a no man's land between the two of them.
5th best start though, so that tells me the start track's not affected by the crosswind or the snow yet.
Well, our timing eyes are. We didn't get any speeds on the run yet.
Look at his visor. Look at his visor.
And that's the worry now. We are now starting to look at that being a problem. 2 mornings ago, Shauna Roebuck was here at 6:30 doing guest trips, and she said from 1 to 6 you could not see. It's only because she's done like 1,000 trips that she made it down safely.
Look at this skid. Well, they've seen a lot of people have that same line. Look at the back end here. There's a back end. The back end bottom right runner is airborne there. And now this is where I think it starts to accumulate in the visor. Down here, isn't it the same temperature up top?
And this is now where Val Fleming, the race director, will be on the radio constantly after each run down to the finish dock to see what the athletes are telling them.
So also for the jury members.
Yeah, exactly.
The jury members are in charge of the race. She's in charge of the venue.
They'll be looking at the visors because the one thing they want is a safe run. If it becomes hard to see at these speeds, then we're going to scratch the race. Next up, Oskars Kībermanis of Latvia, 13th of 21 sleds.
They'd start, well, they had one of the best. They had the best start in the competition, 488 last night. What can they do today?
Oh.
486.
Jannis Janssens, I don't know if he normally rides cannonball with his knees under his chin, but it didn't look like they went around the back of Kībermanis there.
This is good. He made a big mistake there last night in the entrance to the first sunny curve. Oh, it's only 100th. He should have had much better than that with that start. Listen.
Good run, 200ths of a second off the lead. Well, there doesn't seem to be much wrong with the track for Kībermanis.
Looks like he knows how to deal with the snow.
Goodness me.
Yeah, he's going to slow down here. Going to be 12, 1500ths, especially with that tap.
Yeah, but even so, everybody else has been 6, 7, 8 tenths back. He's 2 tenths back.
He's only 500ths out of a bronze.
Maybe not being able to see has helped.
Let's see his visor. Now, some of these guys wear that. It's that little fluid they wear on their visors. That.
Well, he's also got a double layer visor to try and stop it misting up on the outside from the hot breath on the inside.
Well, that proves to me the track still has a start. He has the best start of the competition.
Yeah.
Drive down the track. He's usually about 20 hundredths out of the lead. Is his normal placing. Start. Look at these 4 huge Latvian athletes. Look at the guy with the knees waiting like that to get in. They got in a little late on that take-on. Look at the tap here in the graveyard, and over there in the graveyard section of the track, there's a lot of snow on the edges of that straightaway. What's he, 22 years old?
22 years old, Oskars Kībermanis. Well, that throws down the gauntlet for everybody else. Now, no excuses. John Jackson, next up for Great Britain with Jonathan Anderson, Ashley Watson, and Judah Simpson. See how much snow there is at the side where it's been swept away from the start area? And that will be the same on every straight. Tell you what, these hardy fans have been out here for a lot of racing today, and they've had a lot of weather thrown at them.
John Jackson drove well last night. 5:02 in the first run, 5:05. So that's pretty equal. Cunningham and Lamont Dean were in a twilight zone for their start time to be 1500ths off.
Yeah. Something spooky going on there at the top. Yeah. So Jackson from 13th fastest start now up to 11th.
He drove well last night.
12th position, so he's kind of holding his own here.
He might be able to knock off his teammate, Lamont Dean.
How much would he like that? You've got to beat your teammate first. That's the inter-team rivalry.
That's a good line there.
Still in 12th position. This is a better drive.
Oh, somebody lifted their head up again.
Yeah, and
twice.
again.
That might have been the number 2 guy, Anderson. I couldn't tell.
13th, 48.72. He's in front of Lamont Dean by 600ths of a second.
And he beat Lamont. Yeah, no, they lost to Lamont Dean by 100th at the start.
Yeah, he beat him at the start, but lost to him down the trip. But they're still 13th and 14th with 7 sleds to come.
Jocko, 5th place in the Olympic Games. Tore his Achilles. Missed him for a couple years. Nice to see him back on tour, and I'm sure that's not too bad, but that's quite a skid into that. And here down in the graveyard, well, look at somebody's head come up. Okay, watch this.
Yeah.
Right there. Oh, Pingo, get back down there.
Yeah, nice.
Aerodynamics, that's 83 miles an hour.
Till you hear the driver shouting brakes, don't flinch an inch. Okay, is it going to be redemption or depression for Stephen Holcomb, the 4-man Olympic champion from the Vancouver Games, double 4-man world champion, Frank Del Duca, Carlo Valdez, and Sam McGuffey on the sled. Carlo's family all here shouting their encouragement, and Holcomb's too.
Sister, 493 last night.
Well, that was in their first start, wasn't it? The second one was 2,200 slower in the wind.
491. So, again, I don't know what happened to Lamont, Dean, and Cunningham, and I won't mention it anymore, but something strange happened when they went down, and Holcomb's got a little skid there into the first sunny. Drove well in the first run last night, had the 5th best time, starting in the 14th position, or 12th position.
4th place on splits at the moment. 7th. 125.
That line was perfect.
Speeds there should be 127.
He's had a rough week of training too. He's just perplexed why he's not going fast. He feels he's driving well, and boy, there's not much variance in this sled any place on this track.
Top speed there, 138. He's inside the top 10, 7th spot.
That's pretty good. He's 100th away from Stolnev.
Yeah.
Hey, look at the start. Second best start.
Yeah. Well, Holcomb is back to fitness personally, and the crew are giving him everything they can because they're pushing an Olympic champion, and John, that means a lot.
Hey, we just saw his former teammate, Kurt Tomasevich, on the venue tonight. Great to see Kurt. Might give the team a little encouragement. A little skid here. This was costly. He just didn't try and steer away. He knew he had a skid going. Look at the aerodynamic profile. Then here in the graveyard, and look how smooth that is, too. I mean,
at the snow as well.
He was clean. He drove that sled like Ducars drove the skeleton earlier today, right down the middle.
You know, it's been snowing for 45, 50 minutes before Holcomb gets out on the ice. Nico Valter leads from Max Arndt and Rico Peter. Stephen Holcomb saying that's a little redemption from yesterday as he comes in 7th on the first run. Next up is his teammate, Cody Bascu. David Kremen, Nathan Gilslider, and Hakeem Abdul-Sabur again. So Sabur, his 2-man brakeman on the back handles there, swapping around the lineup, keeping guys healthy and keeping guys race fit at the same time.
Good start. Ooh, looks like somebody slipped a little bit there.
Well, only
6, it's a great start.
Only the guy at 3, Nathan Gilslider, was on the team yesterday. David Kremen is in for Austin Landis, and on the back, Hakeem Abdul-Sabur in for Nick Taylor, who was on the back handles yesterday's race.
This isn't bad. 2,300's bad. Right now, he's in
top 10. Let's see what the speed's like. 126.2. Holcomb was only 125.3 there.
Cody Bascu's got this sled pointed in the right direction.
11th. Ahead of yesterday's winner, Zakharov. Ahead of his teammate, Cunningham. Still ahead of Cunningham.
Bascu.
136 at the bottom, 136.8. Decent speed. Can he pull it up towards the 10? 12th it is. Tied with Cunningham.
Right
to the 100th of a second.
But they're only out of 11th, right behind Zakharov. Yeah, so it's too much of a grab to...
And they started 7 sleds apart, and yet he still found the same pace as Cunningham.
Eddie, 800s apart at the on the start track itself.
Classroom champions sled. Steve Messer, another of Stephen Holcomb's Olympic medal-winning teammates, running that program.
Let's take a look at the driver here at the start. Look at that skip. He didn't hit that with the velocity, and he hit it too early, and the guy behind him looks like he had a false start too.
Yeah.
But they still had a decent start, but it didn't look cohesive at all coming out of the box.
Again, I'm not sure this quartet have actually pushed together more than once.
Look at the skid there. There's been a lot of that. You know, Holcomb went through there like it was on a video game, but it wasn't bad.
Not bad.
But they're talking about the start. They know they had an issue at the start.
They just need to have a little bit more practice. Ugis Adams yesterday, 16th after the first heat. 7th after the end of the race, or was it 5th? I forget, 5th place, yeah. He got a hole in the window yesterday of epic proportions, and you can't help that. He drove the way he drives, but they just got a great start.
He had a 491 yesterday, and these 4 very large men, he's from Latvia, should probably equal that again. 480! Wait a minute.
I think they had pretty much the same start in Heat 2 as well. I think they're only 2 or 300s away, and everybody else was 1500s, 210s back at the start.
80. This is the Latvian 3-sled. Mel Bartis is out. He's hurt. Bad back. Hasn't raced in Lake Placid or here. And they hope to get it back
Zalims still in the green. He is still leading from Nico Volter and Max Arndt. He is pulling 0.04 of a second out. 125.0, not good speed, not enough. He'll go red. He's gone red. And he'll be down 125, 135 at the bottom, not even 134. Not enough speed in the sled, but that's not the driver.
Wow.
That is a great run to 5th place.
This Bruce is on the right like that from the Latvian 3 driver. You talk about shuffling the crews. Of course, the whole decathlon team from Latvia are in these on the bobsled team, and what spectacular athletes they bring to the table. Who has the best 2 starts in the competition? First is Latvian, first and second.
Yeah, and they lie 4th and 5th overall.
They don't have the same population as Germany or the United States, do they?
They have about the same population as Munich.
Rhode Island.
Yeah, well, not even.
Not even.
It's a country of about 3.5 million people, I think.
Biggest, fastest athletes in the United States are in the NFL. The biggest, fastest athletes in Latvia are in these bobsleds. Wow, I love seeing it.
Well, he's beating himself up about that. They held the lead all the way down to Albert Zali. Got away from him. Now, what about Kaylee Humphries? What can she do in these conditions? Last week, the first ever World Cup start for an all-female crew in the 4-man competition. And she still has the same girls behind her. Cynthia Appia at 2, Genevieve Thibault at 3, and Melissa Lottholtz on the back, who is her regular women's bobsled 2-man brakewoman. Of course, they won gold in the women's race yesterday morning. Didn't make the cut yesterday evening in the 4-man.
Well, they have a start deficiency that is just too tough to...
Yeah, and that is Genevieve Thibault, who did not get in cleanly at 3. They were saying after training she was stood on the... She said, I'm stood on the bales too long there. She missed the bale. And he said, at least you're on the bales. And
watch this push bar keep coming out. They had the same thing last night. Kaylee doesn't see it, but it's definitely aerodynamic. Well, perfect.
When they get down to a 496 start, they'll start to worry about that and losing 100ths of a second at the moment. It's getting the start team together that's their key priority.
Well, they still, no matter what, they're going to be pushing a 100-pound heavier sled than the men's team.
And despite the start, their speed through that last speed trap exactly the same as Ugis Zalims, who is the fastest starter with a 4.80. They started 5.40, and their speed at the bottom is the same.
Well, if you're
a 6/10 slower start.
Correct me if I'm wrong. If you're 100 pounds and I'm 200 pounds, we follow the airplane together. The 200-pound guy's going to fall faster, quicker. Do you reach maximum speed?
Till you reach maximum speed.
That's what they're doing down here.
Exactly.
I've heard that rap for a long time.
Well, and you know, when you go on a taxi bob ride, whether you're here or anywhere else, you get pushed off a nice gentle roll, but at the bottom you are going as fast as the world's best.
Watch the mistake here. She slips on the little bunk.
So Genevieve gets her foot up.
Right there, she just...
And then it doesn't bite.
Good recovery.
Yeah.
Good recovery.
Great job.
Getting in. Hey, they're in and down.
Yeah. They didn't leave anybody behind.
Kaylee's got the only goggles in the field, and they don't look like they have anything on them.
Cripps not have goggles now? Oh, can't remember now. Now you've said that, I'm immediately questioning, does Cripps not? He used to.
I don't think so. No, Cripps is a visor.
Yeah. All right, next up then is Yun Jung Won, 19th of our 21 sleds. And at the moment, John Jackson, Lamin Dean, Kaylee Humphries, the 3 at the tail of the field. Bottom of the sled there, little circle. You can see that is the data transmitter and logger for our onboard graphics. 495 getaway for the Koreans.
The start speed, you see, you can have the best start time, but not the best start speed. That's how you load in the sled and get around the first curve.
How much time he spends stood up catching the wind.
Ooh, big skid there. Only 1000ths back, that's pretty good. I think the snow has stopped a little bit.
Yeah, I think the snow has stopped almost totally, actually.
Oh, 13 back, this is good.
What a great run in the top 5 off the 9th starts. This is Yun Jung Won of Korea, driving himself into a fantastic spot.
Yeah, this
top
is unbelievable.
6 in behind the Latvians, but ahead of Francesco Friedrich, who's won 2 races already in 4-man this year.
Wow,
6th position.
Wow, so this is winter sport racing right here.
Yeah.
The snow stops, and these Koreans will be excited. This is his best heat of four-man bobsled ever. Listen,
Yeah.
listen.
Well, they had a good start, 495. That's among their better ones,
Yeah,
but he must have felt how good that drive was.
And the snow, you don't see a lot of snow. He sort of died, so he got a window of opportunity. He took advantage of it, but you still have to drive this bus down the track. Little skid up top into 5 to 6. And watch the line out, but he still maintains a nice line. He hits that right perfectly. There's his
Goma riding with him.
Yeah.
Goma, their coach, who Malcolm Lloyd his memorial service yesterday, and if one can pull off a huge result here, I know who he will give the credit to, and it won't be taking it for himself or his team.
Yeah, here comes the men in orange.
What's the Dutch for Jarvola? We're going to see one of those. It's Ivo de Bruin with Rudy Mensing, Igor Brink, and Dennis Fenker on the back sled.
See that guy back there in the blue? That's Edwin Vermeulen. Long time, 17 years he's toiled in the back of the, taking these shots at curve one for us. Dutch, like a few members in our TV production truck. And we're glad to see the Dutch back out here on tour. And this is a talented driver here. And if he gets more support from the Dutch Olympic Committee, he will produce results. He was 3 years ago, everybody was touting him as the next great pilot, but he just hasn't had the support.
14th at the start, he's up to 12th already. Now 13th on the splits. This is a good drive.
He's driving Martin Annen's Olympic sled from the 2002 Olympics on this track.
Took a bronze medalist.
No, he got fourth.
Fourth place, that's right.
Got knocked out by some guy named Brian Scheimer.
Sled built by Christian Reich. 14th position.
Yeah, he'll take that.
Go get it. There's Wim Normans, who runs the Eurotech operation. He's also a Dutchman, and he is very happy with that. I sense that his his national pride will have Wim investing in these guys.
Yeah, well, you spend about
why wouldn't you?
You spend 1 minute with Ivo de Bruin, and you want to invest in these guys.
Yep. And look at the V shape of him. Yeah, I know.
Typical. There's always got to be one 6'6" guy in the team from Holland. Look at the good start, 5 flat start. These guys don't have a lot of experience together.
I tell you what, I can't wait to see this sled down Whistler. Christian Reich always built sleds that worked at St. Moritz at top speed. This sled could be a rocket ship.
But we won't have these next week. We only got 2 two-man races.
True. St. Moritz it is then.
Yes. Great to see him back in Europe. Ivo de Bruin. Keep your eyes on him with a little bit of investment from the Dutch Olympic Committee. He could be good.
Mad Murdoch is back on form for the A-team. Kalashnikov is still in the sled. That's Nikolai Ekimov. Andreas Baumann is Mad Murdoch. Marcel Dobler is Face. And of course, the man who leads it, Billy Meyerhands, Hannibal.
He's only a young 48 years old.
Whippersnapper.
And
a businessman and a farmer, you know, they have a push track that goes from a barn out into his farm.
I believe it. Look at them get in quick. Look at these guys get down. They win the award for best spot.
Oh, what? 497. Good start as well.
It's unbelievable.
He's got one full-time athlete in the 5 guys in this A-team.
I can't believe something going on. That's got my attention.
He used to be a brakeman for Martin Annan. 2002 season, he braked for Martin Annan. The year after he started driving, raced Europa Cup.
We know he can drive the sled.
Yes, he can. Look at this. 10th place. I say again, 10th place. He's had 1 World Cup race in his whole life, and that was yesterday. 11th place for Billy Meyerhands.
They'll go crazy if they get in the top 15.
I'll go crazy if they get in the top 15. 13th place, 48-46. He makes it into the field, and Kaylee Humphries and the Canadian 4-man do not. They get bumped again. John Jackson and Lamin Dean, 19th and 20th. The A-team, they're in 13th place at the line.
These guys, they're gonna whip it up here. Wow, 48 years old.
Yeah.
They had an awesome start. They had the 12th best start.
Billy says nobody cares about Bob Team My Hands, but you tell them we're the A team, suddenly everybody's excited.
And they got, look at the sponsorship they got in the sled. He's a self-promoter, which you need to be as a driver. You got to be everything as a driver in the sport.
Very successful businessman. And Matt Murdoch, Andreas, has been given a month off from his job as a Microsoft technician by Microsoft to come out and race.
Look at these guys. Yucking it up.
Somebody's just told them where they finished. Nico Walter is our race leader after the first of 2 heats. A snowy race here, and he leads by the massive margin of just 0.02 of a second from points leader and double four-man world champion Max Arndt. His teammate Rico Peter, 3rd in the World Cup standings, 3rd after first heat. Latvians 4th and 5th, Kibamanis and Zalims. Friedrich of Germany, meaning 3 Germans are in the top 6. Then Yun Jung-won of Korea tied with him, ahead of yesterday's winner Alexei Stulnev. Stephen Holcomb 9th, Justin Cripps and Alexander Kasyanov tied for 10th place.
But Walter, he's in a little bit of a vengeance mood because last night he went 2nd. He was 10th at the first heat. He finished 11th overall. He wasn't very happy with the winter performance that was dealt him last night.
Wow, we've got a race on our hands. Look at that. Top 6 covered by less than 1/4 of a second. Throw the names up in the air and pull out a winner, I dare you. Stephen Holcomb just outside in 9th place, but he is only 400ths away from a top 6 finish.
Top 6 guys last night in the first run were separated by 2100ths.
It is very tight indeed. And look, Cripps and Kasyanov behind, tied together. Batazzo, the A team. I mean, this is going to be an exciting, an exceptional second race.
Stop snowing. So those sleds that came down, the last 3 or 4 sleds had a big advantage. A couple of them took advantage of it.
Yes, they did. Stay with us for the second and deciding heat of race 6 of the BMW IBSF 4-Man Bobsleigh World Cup, coming up from Lake Plata, from Park City.
Probably right here.